All right, rock and roll. Welcome one, welcome all to the Scorched Earth Political Podcast. I am your more than happy host, John. And if you could hit that like and subscribe button, share with a friend, leave a comment, all of the above, you get bonus points. We are in the post Valentine's season, so let's not forget to share the love, okay? All right, this is Scorched Earth. We are one love, we are one community, we are progressing together as we fight fascism, as we fight for democracy, as we fight for our rights. Bless you all. And if you're on the other side, we will convert you. All right, let's get to it. Let's burn it all to the effing ground. And the Nancy Guthrie thing is, something has really irked me about this whole thing from the beginning. I've kind of alluded to it. First of all, I am not going to sit here and be the Monday morning quarterback and say, well, this was off, this was off. The thing that always bothered me about this, and look, every family is different. Nancy Guthrie has been gone 2 weeks from her home outside of Tucson. The beautiful lady is 84 years old. She is the mother of Savannah Guthrie, host of the Today Show, obviously somebody who has a huge platform, very, very famous. And what I did not understand, and I have said this many times, is if that was my mom and she was kidnapped, because this is how it was portrayed out of the gun, out of the starting gate, that I personally, I would have put $1 million out there for anybody who had any information. You know, Pima County took ownership of this investigation initially, and there was a $2,000 reward, and then it got bumped up, I think, to 20 or 25, and then it got bumped up to 50. I think now it's at 100,000 now that the FBI is involved. And I don't know, I'm not here to tell anybody, but if you were in that shoes and it was your mom or your dad or somebody very close to you and you were making 10 to 12 million dollars a year, I'm sorry. I would go into the bank account and I would sit there and go, you know what? I'm going to put $1 million. I'm going to put $2 million because that's how you're going to crack the case. This isn't CSI or SVU where they find some clues. Now, there will be a lot of cracks in the case because it is in the national spotlight. But 2 weeks and nobody is talking about anything. We're getting very scant clues. Some things we learned. If you have a Ring doorbell or you have a Nest doorbell, even if you aren't subscribing, they are recording all your data. Let's not believe that BS that came out of Google. Oh, we put some very, very intelligent engineers on it to extract the information. Yeah, right. Yeah, let's talk to Ed Snowden. Every device in your house, whether it's a PlayStation, Xbox, a Ring camera, Alexa, is recording everything we do. And I'm going to tell you right now, I don't know this for a fact, but I got my suspicions about smart TVs. Yeah, I sure do. Because I got a funny feeling there's cameras inside there that we're not really aware of. Like, what is in the smart TV? And does the government, does the NSA, do people like that have access to it? Of course they do. As we found out from Ed Snowden, that the CIA and the NSA were able to activate your phone to be able to listen in on your conversations in your room when you thought the phone was, let's just call it in hibernation. Fun little fact. Thank you. Sure is amazing what they can accomplish. Okay, so we had that situation. Like I said, it was portrayed as a kidnapping from day one. There's a lot of amazing things that are going out. Let me try and go through the list as we go into the second full week. We're past the second full week, excuse me. Trump on Monday said he was actually watching Fox News and he hoped for her safe return. He also said that the people who did it should get the death penalty. Okay, I will say this. I am not a death penalty advocate, but if Donald Trump is really going to call for the death penalty. We do not know what has happened to this beautiful lady. I also think maybe we ought to start putting the death penalty for sexual predators and pedophiles and child rapists. You know, like him and all his buddies in the Epstein files. Oh, no, because they write the laws. And they write the laws so they can protect their own illegal criminal activity. Yeah. I'm not a death penalty fan because, honestly, there's too many errors in it. Put them in prison for life. That's what you want to do. And don't tell me this administration doesn't like putting people in incarceration, in camps, in prisons, because that's all ICE is doing. And that's going to be one of our big stories tonight. Also, Savannah Guthrie made another plea for a mom. She says it's never too late to do the right thing. Now, initially, we were told there was a ransom note. We haven't been given any information about that. And there's going to be something amazing that's coming in. That's why that's what we call a teaser in the business. All right. I wish I could pull it off a little better, but you know, you do what you do. So this weekend, investigators found a glove with DNA that supposedly matches DNA somewhere around the door casing. Now, here was the amazing thing. They found this glove in an empty field over 2 miles away from the house. So obviously, they are doing a thorough investigation. And I've worked in Tucson for a year, and it is a lovely town. It is a college town. Props. I got a lot of Tucson love, right? It's on the other end of the world, but it's a beautiful little college town. There is a lot of desert there. A lot. And for them to say, and I'm not doubting this, they found a glove in a field 2 miles away, there is some serious resources going into this. And once again, I'm not Conspiracy Jay. I'm posing some questions here. Like, if I wanted this podcast, and I've said this multiple times, if I wanted this podcast to be a lot more successful, I would just do the Joe Rogan, the Alex Jones. Oh, there's conspiracy. It's Mossad. Mossad, captured her and they whisked her away, blah, blah. I want to deal in a world of reality because at the end, I was doing a TikTok live last night and somebody was like, that's really, you could really go down the rabbit hole on that one. I was like, yeah, you sure could. But, at the end of this, whether it's successful or not, it's already successful. I already consider that. It's not about numbers for me. It's about truth. That's what this journey has been about, is to speak truth to things that I see are illegal, criminal, and unfair in society. Am I going to change society? No. But I'll tell you this, when they put me in the box, I'll be able to have a little smile knowing I tried. And that's what everybody who's listening to this podcast is doing. We're trying to make the world a little bit better. We may not accomplish our goal, but I'll tell you this, when they put that last shovel full of dirt on our coffin, we'll be able to say, you know what, we tried. We didn't sit there and just watch YouTube for the rest of our life. Well, if you're watching this, you're watching on YouTube. Take that comment back. All right? But there's the clothing and the face mask in the Nest video that was recovered by the amazing engineers at Google. Appears to have been purchased at Walmart. Now, the backpack is one that's sold exclusively at Walmart. Now, here's where it gets a little weird, and nobody in the national media, I looked at 15 news articles on this. I went from AP to Reuters to BBC to just everything. I was just going down the list. And I didn't see what I'm going to start telling you right here, right? The FBI, the Pima County Sheriff is running this investigation with an assist from the FBI. I'm not really sure behind the scenes who's really running it. I would assume since Donald Trump is very much interested in it, the FBI probably is pulling the strings here, but it doesn't really matter. So now on Monday morning, they report they have pictures of this guy in Walmart. They saw the backpack. They know it's exclusive. So literally what they did is, and this is obviously a huge amount of resources, They went and they found everybody who bought a backpack in a Walmart within a 50, and I mean, literally, this is how good they are. Within 50 to 70 miles, they probably went all the way up to Phoenix, which I think is like 80 or 90 miles away. They weren't messing around. They probably did a backpack search for the last year. Hundreds of people were probably involved in this. They're not going to tell you the resources, and they shouldn't. All that we hope is, I wish they cared, and this is no denigration of Nancy, but it's because of the celebrity status of this case. I wish they cared that much about the little black kid or the little Latino kid in the ghetto who disappears as much as they do this lady. But there's a disproportionate response because of circumstance. Okay, that's what it is. But they've got a picture of this guy in the Walmart. Now, I'm just going to give you my own life experience. I'm an old school guy. That's what my dad taught me. My dad always taught me, make sure you have cash hidden in your wallet, just in case the credit card don't work, the ATM card don't work. I will tell you a story. It was, I believe, 5-7 years ago. I was out in the Palm Springs area during Coachella, one of the biggest music festivals in the United States. It is huge. Paul McCartney's headlined, Jay-Z. I mean, just you name it, they've headlined it. It is huge. And literally hundreds of thousands, if not 1 million people descend on that Palm Springs weekend. Back then, it was just for one weekend. Now it's 2, and then there's a subsequent country festival called Stagecoach. But I believe it was 5, maybe 7 years ago, I was out in that area, and literally, because there was such a strain on the system, the financial system with cards, credit cards, Venmo, things like that, the whole system went down. I went into a Home Depot, and they literally, I'm really going to age myself here. Back in the day, for all you youngsters, hold on a second. You used to take your credit card out and you would put it on this little metal apparatus. They'd put a piece of paper and they'd slide it back and forth to imprint your card on the receipt. And then they would write in the amount. They were doing that. I couldn't believe in 2018 or 2020, they still had those machines. They really had to go dust those things off. But literally for the weekend, if you didn't have cash, you weren't getting any type of service or food from most of the establishments. And that was one of those times I was like, thank you, Dad. And I've always done that. You know, I have a little brother and I always tell him, keep cash in your wallet. And he's one of those guys, I don't need to. I got my phone. I got my Venmo. Okay, one day you're going to do. But getting back to the story, Jesus, John, you're rambling off there like you're Jeremiah Johnson. Hold on there, Philly. Hold on there. What I'm saying is, who pays cash? Okay, there's John the dinosaur and there's everybody else. They got this guy in Walmart. They think they've got him. Now, I don't know if they're trying to spook somebody or scare somebody, but if they actually got him, they know who he is because he didn't pay cash. And look, as thorough as this investigation has been, they found a glove 2 miles away in the desert from the house. They got a fingerprint. They got a name. If you used the card, it's over. Also, when you leave Walmart, hey, fun fact, they got cameras out in the parking lot. If he got in a vehicle, they got a license plate. And I will tell you how brilliant law enforcement is when they really want to dig down and you think there's no cameras, you know, you're going down a deserted road. Well, if there's a bank, that ATM has a camera. Yeah, that's a fun little fact nobody tells you about. And those cameras have high resolution. Now, I'm not saying they're capturing plates, but I will tell you this, they will figure out the route. For all I know, this is so high profile, they're using satellite technology. I don't know if you ever saw The Bourne Legacy, but boy, all of a sudden they got one little clue and they had satellites on it. And I don't think that is far-fetched at all. Not at all. So these things aren't jiving. The authorities are claiming that they have a picture of this gentleman in Walmart. And there's only one of two things. Either they're lying about it, or two, if they haven't arrested him, he is under total surveillance right now. They're trying to find the mom. I mean, really, that's the only two choices there is. I don't know if they're trying to play this elaborate bluff poker game, but really, what's the thing? I mean, this guy, and I said this before, nobody gets away with a kidnapping. Nobody. I mean, okay, let's say you can do some crypto exchange that supposedly they can't track. Yeah, right. Giggle, giggle. Like, you're really telling me the government doesn't have a backdoor into figuring out what your crypto wallet and where it's going? Please. Don't be naive. We're talking about seasoned professionals who built the system that we're using that supposedly keeps us anonymous in the system. Giggle, giggle. Right? Okay, fine. How do you return her? You don't. The second you return her, she's going to get a clue. They're going to have a satellite. They're going to have something. You aren't getting away with it. You're just not. Tell me a successful kidnapping. Somebody was returned. I think there was one with J. Paul Getty back in the 70s. It was a lot different back then. You know, that's when you were doing a handwritten note, putting it under the door. Oh, let's not check for fingerprints. Let's just give them the money. Yeah, okay. Obviously, one of two things: they're bluffing or they know who the person is. I don't know which one it is, but it seems like some things are really getting a little weird here. So here is what has been reported Monday afternoon. And this is by the reporter Brianna Whitney. She's an award-winning reporter for CBS 5. I think that's in Arizona. She is reporting, and she is the only one. I'm going to give this girl some props. Believe me, she's either going to be working on 60 Minutes next week or she's going to be drummed out of the industry. God bless you, girl. God bless you. You are taking a risk here. She said it was a robbery gone bad and not a kidnapping, which is contradicting every statement from public officials so far. Now, the officials aren't really going to be held to anything because at the end, as long as they get this lady back, they're going to say, well, we did it for subterfuge, to be a decoy, to work on it, to try and save her life. But that really makes a lot of sense. This guy went in there for a robbery. Something happened. Something went sideways. I would like them to explain the supposed ransom note. Now, with that said, they haven't officially said there was a ransom note. Now, what they've done is they've leaked it to the press. Make no mistakes. When the press has been reporting for 2 weeks that there's a ransom note and there's this and there's that, that is straight coming from law enforcement. It straight is because they want to get it out there. They want people to kind of figure out what's going on and maybe somebody's going to report somebody. Look, I hope Nancy Guthrie gets back safe and sound. I do. I'm very skeptical after 2 weeks that that's going to be how this ends up. But you know what? I just want everybody to be safe. That's all I want. This lady didn't do anything. Personally, to me, with the information we got today, I do think it was a robbery and went bad. There's DNA outside, blah, blah, blah. But we're going to find out, I guess, hopefully. Hopefully we get a resolution to this issue. All right. Let's talk about, we talked about yesterday about the SAVE Act. And this is Donald Trump trying to access voter rolls in state election systems. And basically, he wants all the information. He has done that. Now, he has tried to get into almost every state. Actually, I think he has tried to get into every state. 25 Democratic-leaning states are in court fighting him because voting is the total states' rights. Remember when in the Dobbs decision, we just want to put abortion back to states' rights. We want to decentralize it. Well, on voting, he wants the government to control it all. And look, like we've talked about previously, if you're going to, is it easier to hack into one system or 50? Come on. Let's just use logic. Let's not believe all the gaslighting and all the BS they do each and every day with every breath they take. Just use the brain here. You're smart. Obviously you are. You're listening to this podcast. But honestly, it doesn't make any sense. It's harder to crack that. And the closer the people are to the ground, the state controls the state, they can root out fraud a lot easier. Look at what we've dealt with in the last couple of years with welfare fraud that's distributed by the federal government. He went into Minnesota because it was so egregious. Oh, they really didn't find anything. And anything they did find was prosecuted by the past great President Joe Biden. Of course, Mississippi had hundreds of millions of dollars in welfare fraud, and Donald Trump said, don't you fret. It's good. Oh, Texas has 14 billion, but don't worry about that. We're good. That's just a rounding error, right, in the Republican hierarchy. So currently, the Trump administration has sued 25 Democratic-leaning states for their voter info. But something that has come up on the docket is I found out today that at least 6 to 8, they won't give their names, states that are Republican-leading have also refused these requests. Ooh, we didn't have that on the bingo card, did we? Now, the request on the voter rolls, they want the person's name, social security number, driver's license number and data, and a current address and phone number. Wow, that's quite a bit. Like we said the other day, the Heritage Foundation did an audit of every election from 2000 to 2024, and they only found 77 immigrants illegally voting. 77. That's almost the number of financial felonies Donald Trump's been convicted of. He's right there. Isn't that amazing? Yeah. West Virginia, which isn't exactly a liberal bastion, their Secretary of State, Chris Warner, said they aren't going to get any of our personal information. That just seems like there's even the red states putting a little middle finger up for the Trump administration. Now, obviously, this is all a big part of Donald Trump's 2020 was rigged scenario, where they launched 60 lawsuits claiming there was fraud, illegal voting, blah, 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 blah. Oh for 60. Also, 0 for 60 plus is also the ratio of when Donald Trump has had the alternative or the opportunity to do the right thing. He is 0 for 60 plus. The next time he does something good, the next time he does something benevolent that doesn't benefit him or his billionaire buddies will be the first. Also, there's been no criminal indictments or charges related to the 2020 election. Yeah. 6 years later. 6 years later. Chris Krebs, at the time of the 2020 election, in December, after the election, after he had crunched all the data. And who is Chris Krebs, John? He was Trump's head of election security in the administration, said it was the most secure election ever. Bill Barr, who was the acting Attorney General of the United States, there was no election fraud. Of course, subsequently, he had to resign. And then we got that cute little barbecue party on January 6th. So even the Republican states are saying this is nonsense. This is utter effing nonsense. All right, our big story of the night, let's talk about ICE. There's a million different ways you can go. If you listen to podcasts, you probably hear every one of them twice over. But there's something, I'm going to just tell you how it is. If you're new to the podcast, bless you. Thank you. I'm trying to do things nobody else is talking about. Okay? And if I'm doing the same thing, the Bulwark or Prop G or any of those people, Rick Wilson or people like Molly Zhang or any of those, why listen to me? I mean, why? There's no sense. I'm going to try and do things that intrigue me, that I hope maybe resonate with people out there in the internet. We talk about ICE and their budget. Now, their budget is 75 to 85 billion. I saw conflicting reports. I will say, I just saw the great John Oliver last week tonight about ICE and DHS. He is probably the most fastidious, accurate journalist there is. He's incredible humorist, but he is a journalist, trust me. On his show, he said it was 75 billion. Now, I've seen other reports, 85, but in that range. How much money is that? Now, it is obviously 4 to 5 times what the previous budget was. This budget has been approved for the next 4 years. If this budget for DHS, if I use DHS and ICE for purposes of this conversation, are going to be interchangeable. I understand ICE is a subset of DHS, but for the most purposes, they're evil mofos. They may have a different badge, but they're the same evil mother effers, right? I'm not supposed to cuss on this because I got a lot of trolls out there who like to report me to YouTube. Report this, F you. So, well, let's take a step back here. We are in the second day of the government shutdown. Tom Holman, whatever he is, head of ICE, whatever perfunctory ass kissing he does, he said that, we're used to going without pay. You know what's funny is in the first shutdown, I never heard ICE wasn't getting paid. Never heard that. I heard that they were drawing money out of that tariff slush fund that we don't have any accountability about and paying ICE. That's how they were able to go into Portland, Chicago. Just go ahead and name a couple more. So I just want to get us to where we are in that. Bernie Sanders has introduced a resolution and I applaud the man. I don't understand why Chuck Schumer or Hakeem Jeffries didn't do this first, to claw back some of the allotted budget for ICE. It's insane. Their budget is so big. If it was a defense department, they would have the 17th largest military budget in the world, slightly ahead of the entire country of Canada. Yeah, that's a number. But we're really going to dig down into the numbers. Like I said, they have this budget of 75 to 85 billion. Plus, there is a supplemental of somewhere around 35 to 45, I couldn't really get a number, for detention center logistics. Let's call it that, support. So this budget is just for personnel, jets, apparatus, things like that. There is another budget out there just to support the infrastructure of the housing of the detention centers, concentration camps, anybody, that are going on. As far as I can tell, this budget, this little addendum, puts the budget somewhere like $130 billion. Now, if somebody wants to drop in the comments and give me some information that shows me I'm wrong, I'll own it. I do try to be accurate. I am not here for, clickbait or rage bait. I'm literally doing these stories because I want to find out what the effing truth is. Well, John, how much money is that? We get so jaded that we don't understand how much of our taxpayer dollars are going down the effing tube. Well, I'm going to do that right now for you. I'm going to try and give you a sense of the depth of what this number really is. So they are now, obviously, purchasing, procuring, renovating facilities to house these migrants. One facility they purchased late last year in Merrimack, New Hampshire, will cost $160 million. Wow, $160 million. I wonder if they bought it from a Trump buddy. Going for $80 million. Oh, ICE wants it? Oh, it's $160. Trust me, that's going on. The retrofit is going to cost another $146 million. Wow. Wow, what a deal. I got a funny feeling. I wonder who they're giving those contracts to. I wonder who they politically donate to. You think it's an open bidding system? Kind of like when Halliburton opened up the shoreline along Iraq when we went in. Oh, Dick Cheney used to run your company? Don't you fret. Hey, it's going to be a nice Christmas bonus for the Cheney family, right? Between detention acquisition and funding for logistics, they are going to spend $135 billion in the next 3 years. Okay, that's the number we're looking at, $135 billion. Okay, now, like I said, I'm going to try and walk you through this, and I'm probably going to do a piss poor job, but please try and stay with me, right? It'll build up your pain tolerance. Trust me. If anybody out there, okay, my bad Santa fan, you know, she knows about how tough it is to listen to this podcast. But let's look at some of the numbers that came out of the 2025 Big Beautiful Bill. Do you know the government last year spent $4.4 billion in all of their allocations for homeless people across the United States? $4.4 billion. Okay. It's a number, but let's be honest, it's not adequate enough. You know, it's funny, they always have money for the prisons and the military and stuff, but they never have any money for social causes. Well, we're going to really go through that right now, aren't we? Child nutrition program, which is one of the biggest programs, was at $37 billion. Okay? $37 billion. They did cut it 15% last year in the Big Beautiful Bill. So the final number, obviously, is 37. Before it was somewhere around 42, but okay. WIC, which I am a very staunch advocate for, that is assistance nutritionally for women, infants, and children. That was $8 billion. We're going. Commodity assistance. What is that, John? I don't know. Be honest with you. I didn't know about it before I started researching this segment. That's $500 million, and that is nationally from the federal government, emergency food assistance for senior citizens. And let me tell you something. Senior citizens in this country, they get the short effing shift. They really do. I'm not going to lament it. I've seen it. It's just abysmal. It's just abysmal what happens. So right there, okay, just to give you a quick number, we are at basically $51 billion. Let's look over at the number, 135 for DHS. All those aren't even half. They're basically a third, okay? A third, maybe 40% of what that number is. All of that isn't 40% of what they're spending on DHS this year. Now, in the Big Beautiful Bill, we got an $800 billion cut to Medicaid. And they were so kind that they were going to kick off 14 to 18 million of our most vulnerable people from medical assistance, including children. In that number, it's estimated the number of children is 5 to 8 million. Now, when they passed that bill, they said, well, we want to motivate them to get a job. Yes, it sounds like a southern state where we can start getting child labor laws broken. You know, you're 8 years old, you're 12 years old, time for you to get out into the fields, you know, because we just deported all of the migrant farm workers. Come on, after school, come on out, pick some lettuce. Hey, cucumbers are fun. That was over 10 years, right? 10 years. So there's $80 billion a year they're cutting out of that. We're still not at the number. We're still not at the number. All the Medicaid cuts, commodity assistance, WIC, child nutrition programs, homeless advocacy, all of those accumulated do not add up to what we are giving DHS. Really? Really? All of those don't add up to what DHS has in their pocket that we know of. Please tell me they're not They're not subverting or circumventing it around the side. Of course they are. Let's not be naive to what's really going on. SNAP had their largest cut in U.S. history of $200 million. Wow. Wow. SNAP. Let's just throw that in there too. We're trying to get to the number that DHS is at. They also cut $30 billion last year in student loans and Pell Grants to American kids who don't have the funds to go to college. So if we're looking at the number, all right, we got $30 billion for all the student loans they cut, Pell Grants, which are absolutely instrumental in our society being productive. You want to compete with Japan, you want to compete with China, you want to compete with Europe. We need our kids to have an academic future. We want them, the whole, well, let's just go work at Amazon or let's go work at the 7-Eleven. That's not really going to do well for our nation going forward. Just my thoughts. We need to be able to empower these kids. And when they actually get out of college, we don't need them to be like indentured servants for the rest of their life, paying off a house payment for a degree. That's another podcast. So we got $30 billion there. We got SNAP, we got Medicaid, which is $40 billion. Then we got commodity assistance. All of them, basically, all of that barely equals what DHS is getting funded each and every year. Let's go through it again, folks. The homeless, all of the money the federal government gives to homeless assistance, the child nutrition program, which I think is school lunch program, that is part of that. Feeding kids breakfast and lunch. Kids can't learn if they are on an empty stomach. Let's get serious about it. WIC for women, infant, and children. Commodity assistance, emergency food assistance for seniors. The Medicaid cuts. And all of the student loans barely equal what DHS is going to get. I mean, I look at those numbers and I thought I made a mistake. Like, how does that happen? I think we are so numb to how big this is, and God bless Bernie. He is the greatest politician, outside Barack Obama, in the last 50 years. He is absolutely right. And why is he the only Democrat who's saying we got to claw back some of this money? Because you know what? If you claw back some of that money, you can give the money to some of these other worthwhile causes. I mean, really, when I was looking at the numbers, and I'm a little numb to it, I'm not going to argue, but when you tell me in this country, we're only giving $500 million to emergency food assistance for seniors, F you. F you. How much is $500 million? There's people, and I'm sure you're going to drop it in the comments. Go ahead. But I'm going to give you a little fun fact. $500 million. How much is that? Let me think. The Pentagon's budget is $1 trillion. Basically, they get $3 billion a day. $1 billion a day. $500 million is only 4 hours a year of the Pentagon budget. Christ's sake. Yeah, let's make sure we cut that. Emergency food assistance for seniors. Because, hey, once we starve them, once they die, we don't have to pay them Social Security. F you. Like, wow. When did this country go to hell? I mean, seriously. All right. I'm a little revved up. So Reuters also, let's get to the next story. Reuters is reporting that extensive review of court records show that over 4,000 immigrants were unlawfully detained over the last 4 months as part of the administration's MAGA deportation campaign. Oh, we didn't see that one on the bingo card, did we? Just scoop them up. They're brown. Citizen non, they're brown. Like I said, in this country's history, and I'm going to call it like it is, if you were black, you were effed. You didn't get to vote. They enslaved you for the first 400 years of this country. Then, after they took that away, they wouldn't let you vote for the next 100. You never got a break. You couldn't own land. It was just bad. This is the first time in history, if you're a black individual, you're like, you know, I know the system's gamed against me, but at least we're not the poor Hispanic population. Because they are literally hunting them down. This is like the Hunger Games, what DHS is doing. And Reuters is showing us this. In the last 4 months, 4,000 immigrants have been illegally and unlawfully detained. In that time, there's been 400 federal judges. They've issued judicial orders against DHS actions, frequently finding that ICE lacked legal detention or violated constitutional due process. We have talked about that previously on this show. You cannot get arrested for driving while Hispanic. Well, you can now. That is the Fourth Amendment protection. They've got to have a reason to do it. Nope. We're heading to Home Depot. If you're Mexican, you better be able to outrun the fat little slob who's ICE. You know, those Proud Boys and Oath Keepers really don't keep in good shape. They think they do, but not really. In one Minnesota district alone, ICE violated 96 release orders of immigrants by judicial order. They basically just said, we're not going to do this. 96 in one district. Current number of people in ICE detention in the United States is 68,000, which is a 75% increase from a year ago. Now, I know that MAGA is going to get just all warm and fuzzy when they hear that. Oh, he's really increasing it. Well, how many of those people really should be incarcerated, detained? Well, I don't think the number's what you think it is. Syracuse University says 234,000 people were deported in 2025. Oh, I can just hear the MAGA's crowd. Oh, yay, yay. Okay. I got a question for you. We're going to get to it right now. In 2025, the daily deportation rate was 810 people a day. Oh, I can just hear it. It really is. It's really like a cacophony of chorus of hallelujahs from the MAGAs. I can hear you. I know who you are. You evil SOBs. But you know what? Let's go back in the time capsule to the great Barack Obama, the man of dignity and stoicism and character. The antithesis of what we currently have. During his first administration, that'd be 4 years for MAGA, just trying to keep you up to speed, he deported 1,088 people each and every day. So Trump can't even keep up with Obama. Again. We know he can't keep up with him morally, ethically, legislatively. I mean, really, in a year, what's Donald Trump got passed? Big, beautiful bill where he gave a tax cut to all his little billionaire buddies. Yeah, that's going to be a hell of a legacy. Not really. He's going to enrich himself. But in the history books, we're going to look at him as a failed president. And even worse, a corrupt and failed human being. We can see that each and every day. Also, on this President's Day, we broadcast this on Monday. It'll probably come out on Tuesday. So day late, dollar short, John. I want to talk about truly one of my favorite actors. That would be the great Robert Duvall. He passed away on Monday at the age of 95. He was very involved with Republican politics, but I want to take that out of this equation. He was truly a magnificent actor. He was in Godfather 1 and Godfather 2. Because of basically money reasons, he wasn't in Godfather 3. But truly a man's man in the movies. he was just, he had an ability to elevate the scene. And in Godfather 1, I really do think that is the greatest acting cast in any movie ever. You can argue that's fine, whatever. Brando, Pacino, Khan, Cazal. Cazal was just a monster, and Duvall. They all played their roles just at the height of acting prowess. And I think the most famous movie he ever did was he collaborated again with Francis Ford Coppola on the epic Apocalypse Now. And he was the sergeant on the beach. As the beach is blowing up, the bombs are going, the guns are going. He is just sitting there, and he crouches down on the beach and goes, I love the smell of napalm in the morning. It smells like victory. And then you pan back to the Martin Sheen character, who the film is basically viewed through, and he goes, I knew this guy was going to walk through this war and not get a scratch. As everything around him is just blowing up, and this guy has no fear, doesn't care. He played the part beautifully. A lot of the great movies that he did, and if you can watch them, I would say Tender Mercies. That was really one of the most touching, heartfelt performances I think he ever had. He won the Oscar for that movie, and I think maybe for a lot of people, especially females, his most famous role was probably Lonesome Dove. It's an amazing, tender movie. He had such depth as an actor. You really enjoyed seeing him. The last movie I can really remember, I mean, I know he did Jack Reacher and he did some other things. That's just for a payday. I get it. I can't blame the man. He put in the work. But the last movie I really remember, where he was a preacher in the movie Apostle. He paid for the movie, he directed, he wrote it, and he starred in it. And it was just, he got an Oscar nomination. Unfortunately, he didn't get the win. But the thing that really amazed me about that movie is he treated, I want to be delicate in how I say this. I wish I would have wrote something out here. There is a lot of negative stereotypes about the televangelist preacher and the grifting that goes on. And it's absolutely true. We've seen the Swaggarts, we've seen, the Jim Bakkers, we've seen that. But even when he was in that role, and I'm not going to say he was really a grifter, but he was definitely trying to figure out a way to sustain himself. There, you could see the true humanity of how he got to that place, and how his true belief in God got him to that. Now, it didn't explain everything he eventually did. And his wife being Farrah Fawcett, I wish more people would have seen her role. I thought it was very sublime. I thought it was very nuanced, and I thought it showed me that she actually had some acting chops. Was she able to really exhibit those? Not so much, but I thought in that moment she really shined. And I think if you haven't seen it, I would definitely recommend The Apostle. I would recommend so many things from his catalog. He was just a great actor. I can't speak to who he was or what he was as a human, but he brought a lot of pleasure, a lot of happiness, and a lot of great cinematic moments to a lot of people who watched his movies. And I was definitely one of them. Bless you. God bless you, Robert Duvall. I hope wherever you are, you're in a happy place. Bless you all. And bless everybody else who's watching this today. I love you all. We're all one love. We are Scorched Earth, and we'll see you soon.